What's up, Robert?
Oh my God.
You gotta behave yourself tonight. Okay.
All right, we're live.
I'm gonna put you in the corner.
Uh,
Always in the corner.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Board of Health meeting. We have here tonight, we do not have our chairman in attendance, so I'll be running the meeting a little bit this evening. So we'll go to our first item on the agenda is a call to order. That's already set. The next item on the agenda will be a roll call.
Here,
Tom, here,
Colleen.
And Jack.
and Jack. All right. The third item on the agenda is scheduled a Board of Health reorganization. Something that a board typically does after you have an election. If there's any reorganization that might be inclined to change from what had been running, but since we don't have the full board here tonight, we're going to pass on that. And we'll put that on the agenda for our next Board of Health meeting. All right. Anybody on remotely?
Nobody's online.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is good and welfare for the public. That's something new for those who are not aware, something new we recently added to the agenda. Great recommendation from our health agent, Colleen. What it basically does, it gives anybody an opportunity, whether they're here or calling in remotely, gives them an opportunity to speak on some topic of interest. May not actually be on the agenda, but they have an opportunity to kind of voice a concern or question or issue. So we decided to put that on the agenda. So I would ask if anyone have any particular general item that may not be on the agenda. I think you're all here for a particular item that's on the agenda tonight, right?
I am.
No one online? Okay. So I'm not seeing any one looking to communicate here. We'll go on to item number 5 on the agenda. This is under new business. And first item we have is blasting concerns at 45 to 49 Uxbridge Road and well water discussion. Now, I take it all of you here in attendance are here for that?
I am, and I think Kathy is. So
Kathy, and I think Wayne and, okay. So is there anyone that would like to come up and speak to the topic
I would,
first?
yeah.
Come up, have a seat. You could introduce yourself.
I'm Peter Lyman, 66 Uxbridge Road, right across the street from, well, not directly across, but I'm in a butter to the blasting. So supposedly the blasting started today.
Yeah.
Okay. This is the initial day, but prior to this, many of us were concerned about what blasting agent they were going to use. Also in general, who is looking out for our interests in town? Because we've been in contact with the Conservation Commission, Board of Health, before this indirectly. We hadn't been on the agenda prior to this. We were concerned mainly about what are they using? Is it perchlorate? Is it ammonium nitrate? And then what would be the possible effect on our private wells? Okay, so prior to the blasting, we each had our home surveyed. Okay, that's step number 1. Somebody comes through and they take pictures, walk around and just note everything about the house, where there are cracks or, whatever.
excuse me, can I just say, did they blast?
I don't know. They were scheduled to blast.
They did blast.
Yeah.
They did blast today.
Yeah. We got a notification by text that they were going to do a blast at 12:30. So
And did you ask them to tell you what they were doing, what they were using?
that's that's all part of this that I'll kind of review. So Tetra Tech Engineering is now overseeing the project, and I think there's a new guy on board as far as overseeing that project across the street. Maine Blasting and Drilling, I think, is the company that's actually doing the blasting.
Maine, M-A-I-N-E.
Yeah, state of Maine blasting. So there was a lot of questions about what many of us were asking, what are they going to be using? And especially there were concerns about using perchlorate, okay? And because there are some known detrimental health effects to people, or especially to infants, okay? Thyroid gland, right? So there was concern about that. We all have private wells. We're across the street. Further, I think we all are on top of bedrock there, right? So I had a conversation with the guy who came. Besides the house survey, they tested our well water. Okay, so yes,
yeah.
So Tetra Tech hired a contractor to come and take sample our raw well water last week. Okay, and it was interesting because wells can be in locations where there is no bedrock, right? And if just anything like that, or any percolation from some hazardous material could take time to reach private well. But if you have bedrock, who knows what's down there? But if there's a crack, then it's going to behave like plumbing in your house, all right? So we were told that the blasting was going to be close to the surface, okay? But still, there's always the questions of what if, right? So just the broad question of, who do we go for this? Now, I know that you don't oversee private wells, you oversee the building of or the installation of them, right? But as far as the
board does have
contamination of them, yeah. So I communicated with Jack about this. I sent a message to him last week, and I asked to be put on the agenda for that. So maybe you can, talk further about that. But further, we found out that they're not going to be using perchlorate.
They're not.
They're not. And we found that out because many of us contacted ultimately the chief of fire department has to to issue the permit for blasting, right? And he did send a message to me, and he read through the document, the blast analysis to the blast plan. He went through it, and it said that no perchlorate is allowed to be used in this blasting that's going to take place across the street. So that is a relief.
Yeah.
But just in general, we didn't really know who to go to for this. Conservation Commission gave the okay for this project to blast 2 years ago, right? Okay. But I don't think there's any in that approval is saying you can blast, but as long as you use only this, but you can't use perchlorate. I don't think that's part of the process. So that's why we're here. We're just kind of, there was a lot of questions that needed to be answered, and finally we got an answer about what they were going to use, and it wasn't going to be perchlorate, so that's a relief.
You know what they are using?
That's
Probably, probably ammonium nitrate, but I don't know that for sure. I haven't seen
What is it?
ammonium nitrate would be, but we don't know. We don't know. Yes, yes, yes.
Oh, no.
Here's a seat. But you have a there.
You can state your name and address.
Sure.
please.
Catherine Hackinson, 25 Washington Street. My daughter resides at 56 Uxbridge Road, which is basically directly across from the project. I guess our concern is the go-ahead was given on July 28th of 2022 for this project
By Concom.
by the Conservation Committee, and the Planning Board before that.
Right.
I did get a copy of the general orders And the only thing that it says at the very end is that there is a pre-test and a post-test of the well. There was nothing on there about blasting. And I don't know if anybody even really, if anybody was aware that John Nenard of Route 85 Realty had applied to the Department of Transportation for a blasting permit, which he did a while ago. Because it took a long time because, of course, they're right on Route 16, which is a state highway. But when they were before the planning board, after everything was said and done, I was on Zoom and I asked if there was any blasting that was planned. And that was the first time that I think many were aware that there was blasting that was going to be done. After that, I went to the Concom and my question was, you know, after doing some research on it, found out that there is another method that is a safer method for groundwater and for, I think, maybe structures as a whole that are near it.
Right.
It's expanding grout, and Peter did research on it. And also, there is a person that just used it within the past 6 months at 35 Taft Avenue very successfully because he's building a house on the lake. And he of course had ledge too. And he chose that method. It might have been more expensive, but it was a safer method. And yet he, you know, had no, you know, he got the ledge out that he needed to get out without contamination of anything. And so I asked why that couldn't be used, and I was just told by the Concom that basically the permit had been issued and, you know, I guess nothing could be done, which I didn't understand because the blasting is basically, would you say 50 to 75 feet near the stream that's there. We 2 weeks ago, there was a company, a separate company, and I don't know who they were hired by. I don't know if they were hired by the town or if they were hired through John Nenard and Route 85, but they did put dye into the stream that feeds through a pipe that's been there for many years. That goes under Route 16 and it goes out. The pipe is on Karen Balian's property at
64.
4.
My neighbor, right, closer to the blasting zone.
Right. So I'm saying, okay, so if they know that that dye traveled within about an hour and ended up into the lake, I mean, if they're blasting 50 to 75 feet near the stream, I mean, we had a lot of concerns and then we couldn't find out what the blasting agent was. So then I called the blasting company. I went to the fire chief and he really had to do research on it because he really, on any of these forms that everybody has, there is nothing that asked what the blasting agent was. And if you're living near that, you want to know what's going to be put into your ground. I know after talking to people, they say that a lot of it goes into the air as well. But I've also talked to people that have done blasting that are excavators and I mean that do excavation. And some of it is going to go into the ground and when you blast, it's opening up pores in the ground. So you have to understand our concern and we just felt like we're going from board to board to board and we're not getting answers because it's basically, well, it's already done. You know, there's nothing that can be done. It can't be revoked. We can't tell them what to use to get rid of the ledge. So it's like, where do we go? I guess we just have to go along with it and just hope for the best.
Well, out of curiosity, who specifically at the Concom have you been talking with? Has it been many different people? Has it been one person?
Well, I attended via Zoom a few weeks ago. And I asked why couldn't they use the expanding grout method, and I don't know if they didn't really know that much about it. So it was kind of like, well, and the answer is, well, it's only a couple feet. We're only blasting a couple feet below the ground. You know, we're not blasting for very long. Or, I mean, if that was your water, would you be comfortable with that answer?
Right. Right.
That was my, answer. And I talked with, Isabella, the agent. She was very nice, gave me the order of conditions that she had. So Fire Chief Bagma, he did a lot of research, called people. You know, we get a lot of answers from him. But then now I think we're at is, they have to, the blasting company has to have a log each day saying how many times they blasted, where they blasted, what they used. But I guess there's a question of whether we can see the log, the last thing I knew.
Yeah.
So we really don't know what the blasting agent is.
I would think the log would be public information.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, I think it is supposed to be public information, but for whatever reason,
Do you know if anyone affiliated with the town is involved in any kind of inspection or present at the time
Yeah.
of blasting?
yeah,
Well, there's supposed to be not necessarily from the fire department, from, I think Chief Bagner said fire inspection office or something to that
On-site.
effect, on site.
site.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and they have to have that log
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
So
Well, we
maybe
have
So probably can find out after. the fact.
after the fact, maybe we'll find out what's. I guess my question is and I did ask this when I did the Zoom on the Concom, I was like, why can't they be made to use something that's preventive? Why just, do the blasting? They do it all the time. It's not a big deal, and just take the chance is kind of what has been presented as. It's a normal thing. Everybody does it. And,
Well, I do think that the Conservation Commission does have the power to say, we said that you could use this, but now we've had new information come to us. We need to discuss this again. That would have been.
you would think that would have made sense.
They should have, they could have.
Yeah.
In my opinion, no.
Yeah. And
That's
to me,
how I think.
Yeah. so I mean, I guess the other concern is the lake, with the dive going into into that pipe. And I know that that's not going to be fixed until they redo, the project, Route 16 project. But we know, even if it's ammonium nitrate, I mean, we're very thankful that it's not perchlorate,
Perchlorate, yeah.
chlorate, because, oh my
I
God.
have a whole thing that I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
yeah, but that kept being brought up as the agent that was possibly going to be used. So, I mean, we didn't bring that up. That came from the Tetra Tech, I think, engineer
Right.
had said it numerous times. And so of course, right away, you get very alarmed, and
Right.
even if it's ammonium nitrate, I mean, that's just more nitrates going, possibly into the ground, more in, possibly into the lake. And, we're doing all this work, the Lake Association, town's gonna be paying testing for the lake, and they're really putting a concerted effort this year into testing the beach once a week, testing like 5 sites on the lake, at least twice, I think it's once every 2 weeks. And, everybody's doing a lot of effort to try to make things better.
So can I ask you this? So they did do some blasting today. So are they going to do more blasting?
Yeah, there's a lot of ledge there. They were trying to hammer that ledge out, but it was so hard that they kept breaking, the bits, they were using,
Yeah.
So otherwise we wouldn't be talking about this. So,
Bobby, do you happen to know, out of curiosity, how long the blasting went on today?
On the sign.
I was just curious, like the period of time today, did you have an idea how long it went on today?
so it did. Okay. Could you hear it? Okay.
When did it stop?
When are they supposed to stop?
When did they stop? What was the time?
I heard 12:30, one blast.
Oh,
One
okay.
blast.
Earlier.
We hadn't gotten home yet. Just,
Major blast was 12:30.
I had a tooth out today, so
Oh,
Oh,
I hate that.
It was a good day.
It's supposed to last until the 25th.
That's what the
sign
sign,
says.
yeah, that's what the sign says on 16.
And then they have arrangements to retest your well water. They will do that.
We believe so. I mean,
45 days.
That's in the Concom
It's in an email.
requirements.
Yep,
Could
I
you
have
repeat
the
that, Colleen?
email. Yeah, I have the email from Tetra Tech and they're gonna retest your wells in 45 days. We also asked for a copy of the permit application that was filed with the fire department, just so that we could take a look at it.
Oh,
Haven't received it yet.
Okay.
As soon as we do.
Yeah.
And then there was also some conversations regarding retesting it even after the 45 days. So
Definitely.
that's something.
Which I think
Yeah.
it should be. 'Cause
Yeah.
I spent all day doing all
Oh.
this research, calling people, doing things, and
Right, thank you.
making sure, I've got all this paperwork.
Yeah.
I'm like.
Mm.
Thank you.
"What?" You know, and I thought they were going to be using the percolate there, and so at least I'm like, okay, I'm
Mhm.
relieved about that. That was really
And
bothering.
we did ask for the pre-blast
So the children-
tests to, for your wells, so that we'll have them and then we can compare
yeah.
the results in 45 days. So we did send an email and requested those as well.
Thank you.
So we'll take a look at it and the board is aware of it.
Mhm.
We'll continue to monitor it.
Colleen's a very seasoned health agent. She's been involved in a lot of different areas, so she's got a vast array of knowledge.
We're aware of your concerns and rightfully so, and we'd like to help ease, your anxiety.
Oh.
So if we can obtain the information, which we should be able to, and
Well,
we're more than happy to share it with you.
Yeah, I mean, I think the problem was, I think it was promised verbally that abutters would be notified like 6 weeks ahead of time before blasting was to take place and everything. But then that never happened. And that would have given us time to ask questions, and then I think we would have felt okay because we knew what was going on and what was going to be used, and to see if there were other methods that could be used, which just makes sense.
I can still get you the information too,
We definitely would like to know what.
Yeah, absolutely.
absolutely,
Yeah.
Yeah.
absolutely, that's what we're in the
Right.
process of right now.
Yeah.
We asked for the report, and for your pre-blast well test results. Also, we reached out to the fire chief. Jason's been very forthcoming
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
information, and Tetra Tech also. So there's a lot of communication there, and we're more than happy to share it with you to
Great.
ease, like I said, to
Great.
ease your anxiety.
Excellent. So even before all this, as you're well aware, it was, the other problem was all the noise there. When they weren't
Oh,
blasting,
yeah.
they were hammering, and that was really, really disruptive. I think everybody, even across the lake, could hear it, and you just reminded me of that. And it was like, so,
It's
you know,
horrible.
Concom is more concerned with wildlife habitat around there, right? But who's concerned with human habitat? And the, adverse effects of that, because,
I agree that that was very disconcerting to me.
Yeah.
As a nurse and a care professional and everything, I was like,
Yeah.
what? So then I spent the entire day
Hmm.
doing all this research, calling people at the state,
Hmm.
blah, blah, blah. And, so I'm so glad that they weren't using this because that was making me crazy.
Right.
And I was hoping that they had blasted today because, I thought I thought they could have, because we were so concerned, as a neighborhood and everything, that we could have put just a stop for today.
Mhm.
And,
Yeah.
after we've done our research and stuff, but, and who took the pictures and they did an inside and out for each?
They
home?
hired Falvey pre-blast inspection from Milford.
Because that was one of the other things that
Right.
my research.
A benchmark, you need a
Right.
benchmark.
Right.
My research said, before any testing happens,
That was a few weeks ago. That was well before the
Couple,
water.
like, well, 2 weeks ago. they
Yeah,
did,
2
right?
weeks, right, yeah.
Okay, so they did all that.
Last week was
Right.
water, the week before that was.
That's right.
was that
Yeah, that's right.
inspection,
Last week was the.
Inside and out.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
okay, because that's what, I've got all these word things
Yep.
on my paper here. Inside, outside, down in the basement, the
Mhm.
concrete, this, blah, blah. Okay, so that makes me feel a little better.
yeah, he has a video, he's a camera and he's just continually
Right.
narrating as he goes through the house. So,
My,
cool.
and my feeling is that though, again, 45 days is so, okay. But I think that then there's still after that, because some places are slow in absorbing things and,
Yeah.
so I would like to see that if we can.
Yep.
do that.
That was a part of the conversation. The other thing I was gonna say to you guys too is after each blast, check your house
Right,
each time. And if you notice anything, contact the fire department.
Right,
immediately.
right.
Immediately contact the
Right.
fire department and get it, and, take a picture with your
Okay.
cell phone so that you have a date
Mhm.
of when you took the picture, so it correlates with the
Mhm.
blasting time as well. If you notice any, if there's any change, any
Okay.
difference.
Yeah.
Go back through your
Right,
house
right.
yourselves. You can do that yourselves with,
Yep.
technology. And
Yep.
And make a record yourselves.
That's a good idea.
Right.
All right, well, we appreciate all your help.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely.
Sounds like we have kind of a little string of communication going on.
Absolutely.
right? So the
There's
various
a wheel of communication.
Right.
groups.
Yep.
And I would say this probably does fall under the umbrella of public health overall. So obviously it's a
Think so,
concern for
yeah.
sure.
Yeah, because I mean, it definitely could, affect the lake over time. You don't know. That's the thing. You don't know. There's a lot of unknown there.
right. Well, what made me crazy, and I wasn't on the board of health, but I was still crazy, when Pinto was doing all that blasting over there near the Georges.
Oh, yeah.
Right,
I mean, that was making me
Yeah.
crazy. And I called the DEP, I called the Conservation Commission. Now, I don't live there.
Mhm.
I don't do that stuff, but, I have an environmental engineering degree and certification and everything. But sometimes I don't go down that way, but I'm going down there and I'm seeing all the blasting they've done and I can't, it's like, and, we called, I had Peter Coffin calling the conservation in the state thing and, I'm like, what the heck?
Well, I guess it's just that, I mean, I don't know how long these other methods that that are available. I don't know how long that other method that
Yes.
has been available to use, but when you do have another method that you could use,
Let's talk it over.
I think it should be considered anyways. I'm sure it's more expensive, but
Wayne, did you have a question?
Yeah, I'm from the Lake, Wayne Phipps, 45 Kinsley, from the Lake Association. Usually we get notice of things that are going on around the lake. Something like this, of this magnitude, and just today, and I'm just gonna throw it out there, on Route 16, on the other side of where the blasting is taking place, on the lake side, there are like 3 huge machines in there. I don't know whose they are or what they're doing, but, we just want to be concerned, like, I know in the past, we've actually seen some of the machines in the lake.
Yeah.
which
Well,
is-
Pinto's, that, where he's doing that thing, that was, and then he got permission to cut down all those trees. Yeah, that was like. I
But this stretch here it's right across the street from where the blasting is going on there now. I don't know I don't know who it is or what it is or what they're doing, but, when you go by,
So tell me
from the Lake Association, you
where
would
you're
think that we
thinking
would
of it.
would have
Where,
known
where,
something about it.
60.
We saw it.
Excavator, a hammer, an excavator with a hammer on it, and some kind of drilling machine.
in what, well,
And a backhoe.
whose lot?
It's Rick Brady's,
It's 60 Uxbridge Road, 50,
Is this
54.
packing them there in case they needed them after the blasting? Or was
No,
there
no.
activity there?
It's a long story.
And it may be all above board. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe
Right.
he has all the permits, but, as the Lake Association,
Who
we
owns
keep
the
coming to all the boards and saying, keep us informed, please, let us know what's going on. When I drove by there today and saw all the machines in there, I said, and we had a meeting last night, it was just,
Someone
we
said,
want to be in the loop.
it used to be Brady's house. And I think my wife was saying something about the noise.
Yeah.
Bought it.
He owns 2 lots there.
and then,
Maybe
I don't
even
know if
3
they wanna
lots.
Tear the house down.
Is that close to Shea Engineering where I used to work on the side there?
You know where Jake and Diane Grady used to live, right?
Yeah,
That lot.
on that side, it's on the lake side.
On the lakeside.
Yeah. There's 2 lots there that he
Yeah.
owns, right next to each other.
Because Mr. and Mrs. Grady used to live there too, because when I used to
Yes.
ice skate on the lake, they would keep an eye out for me.
So if there's any construction there, there would have been, as a butters, we would have been
Like, yeah.
notified.
yeah.
Right?
I would,
Depending-
Any type of planning behind it, right?
Yeah.
Depending upon what
But
is
if there's,
going on
if
there,
there's,
but
if it's excavation,
no notification.
conservation should.
Well,
be-
we can check with conservation and see if they, because they would have to have an order of conditions, but
right,
if, you own the parcel and you want to put a excavator on the parcel and do work,
yeah, it's
that's
up by
your
the street
prerogative.
too.
There's
It's up
no
by the river, up
notification
by the highway,
required.
so.
but if there's further development, absolutely.
It's still there?
Yeah, the equipment started showing up last week. One piece showed up last
Oh,
week
see, I haven't.
and the rest,
We saw it today.
this week. And today was the first day where they were hammering. It's very loud. So,
We can check with Concom tomorrow. We can
okay,
ask
that'd be
Isabella.
great. Appreciate that, yeah. Thanks for bringing that up.
The other
And
thing,
it may all be, they might have all the permits and everything, but again, we're trying, we're doing everything we can with testing and with, treating the lake and everything. We're trying to keep it as pristine as we possibly can. And, when you see some of these things, you just, a red flag goes up, especially when.
should always ask, that's what your town hall is for. You call
Right.
your town hall and, talk with the town administrator's office if you're not sure what department, direct your question to, and then they will, they'll direct it to the proper department, but you should, what they say, the only stupid question is the one that's not asked.
Right.
And the other thing I was gonna say to you guys too, with regards to your properties, is document. Be your own, advocate as far as your property goes. Walk around your property, see if there's any type of, any differences, any new cracks that you're not sure of, maybe you didn't see them before, and benchmark it. So then they'll have they'll have a record of what they did prior to the blasting. And now, as you guys are going along and experiencing the blasting, you're also documenting your own experiences as well. It's all valuable information.
I got a question. It has nothing to pertain with this, but they told us last year that if we wanted to keep our beaches up, that every other year we could put sand.
Who are they?
Well, it was conservation, wasn't it? I think it was Bob Sweet that we had talked to and stuff, and they had said something that if you, like every other year, just to keep your beach area up, you could put sand, but you had to notify the people of it. It's the most.
Yeah, that would be conservation. We can check with Isabella. And, we can get word back to you.
There was a load dump today, which I know goes back into the lake. It's not actually in the water. He dumped it to redo what had washed out through the winter into the lake. Good sized load was put there and shoveled away today.
Do you know what the property address is?
The same one we had problems with building a wall and putting the excavator in last year. It was,
You know what number it is?
the one that owns the
What number is it, Chess? What number?
Well, I'm 6. So it'd be
10.
Oh, okay, the new house.
yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right.
10,
Old Taft,
yeah.
right at the, just before the corner.
One before that.
Yeah, not on the corner, but the one before, right, yeah. It's a brand new house.
Okay,
Getting tweets.
we'll get it, we'll get it to the Concom.
And I'm
More walks.
I'm thinking about the cat refreshing my beach area with a little bit of sand this year. So
And you live at number 6?
6.
Okay. We'll forward it to the Concom for you.
So I did it 2 years ago. They said it's okay. And then it's 2 years, so I figure I can put a yard or so just for the, it's basically for the kids, my grandkids.
Mhm.
That's all it is. I am gonna put a retainer. I'm having a lot of problems since that house was put in. Water now comes down onto my property and washes it out. So I'm gonna dig out at the edge of the road, at the edge of the road, like 1 foot in and put a beam so it bypasses that our property. Because it's already starting to wash out the loom. And I don't want it to go into the lake and stuff. I'm just gonna retain it. It'll go in toward the yacht club property actually.
Well, hopefully we've kind of helped a little bit with answering some concerns here, and sounds like we have a good communication flow going here with Colleen and various,
So,
Jack as well
Yeah.
too, so
Yeah,
if
we've
we
been
could
on
get,
it.
keep you folks, we have contact information.
I have Kathy's contact
Okay, so-
information.
just to know, tomorrow is Concom meeting. We're also on the agenda
Ah, okay.
for that. So we're gonna kind of
good.
continue this.
Hey, sweet.
Joyce, is there
gets
anything
the
you
lease,
wanted
right?
Right.
That's good.
But whatever
Your
information,
grandchildren.
that's right. Whatever information that we
Going
obtain,
down without-
we'll be more than happy to share with you. Absolutely.
No, I know, but,
We
and I
will be
appreciate it.
monitoring the wells,
Yeah.
the well test results too, both pre and post blast.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank
Okay.
you.
All right,
Very
thank you.
well.
Thank you.
Yep. Hope it all works out well. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank
Nice to
you.
see you.
Have a good night.
Yeah, you as well too.
Bye, thank you.
And nobody's online, right?
Nope.
Okay. So on to the next agenda item. We have the new business, Board of Health receives scholarships.
Well, since Alan's not here, do we want to put that on the next agenda item so all board members can have the?
We should.
Mhm.
Right.
I-
Did we get some?
We have 8 of them.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Oh, awesome. Wow, got some decisions to make.
Our cookie guilds, we had quite a few too. but,
Did it?
We picked one.
Right.
Awesome.
So I'll put that on the next agenda.
Okay. Excellent. Let's see. Okay, on to item number 6 on the agenda, old business, 3537 Hastings Street, project update discussion.
That's you.
Is that me?
That's you.
All right. So I guess the only update I could provide, and actually, I don't know, Jay, are you here for,
Very well, so.
Come on.
come on up. I take it you're here for this topic?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So if you want to introduce yourself, Jay?
Jay Cross, 17 Washington Street.
Okay. So, well, I can tell you from my perspective, I was at the last planning board meeting. We did have our engineer, Tom Ryder, was in attendance as well, available to address any questions that might have come up with concerns. A couple of questions that, came from the room. But I mean, overall, seemed like that the plan would be that moving forward, anything that would be in the BOH domain would be addressed during with the engineering element that would move forward in the creation of the application for design and so forth. So I'll go to Jay. I don't know if there's anything you want to add into the commentary, Jay?
Yeah, I guess, from my perspective, the question was asked of, the engineer, if he anticipated that there would be any changes, and he answered no to that question. So my follow-up question to that was that there were two sets of perk tests submitted, but only one referenced in the plan that was submitted in the proposal. And I asked if those had been reviewed, and the engineer indicated that he had not seen those or reviewed those. So I guess my question is, having reviewed those plans, the area of the main area, which is where the housing would go, is noted on the plans as limited due to high groundwater. The area where the septic is proposed is also noted on the plans as limited by high groundwater. We have residents on Washington Street and on Route 16 that they don't even have septic systems, they have tanks. They're seen pumping water out of their basements on a regular basis, including Barry's. So there's water challenges there. There's multiple sites where the perk tests were done that failed on the property. So I guess when you put all that together and not having seen the second set of tests, how the engineer is able to make that statement on public record.
Wish we had Tom on board to help address. I don't know if had you seen the breakout of the test results, those perk tests? I mean, I know you
Well,
participated.
I did the purchase that with Stephen Donatelli.
Yeah.
I think Tom Ryder did them with Lenny Izzard.
Correct.
I don't know, but I know that the center where the housing was going to be, that
Yeah.
there was absolutely no way they could put a septic system in there because A, work rate was too high. B, the water table was so high. That's why we went over to where Garrett's house was, which is across from you. That's where they went, and I was very surprised, and believe me when I tell you this, that I was there the whole time. I never left 1 second, and it perked like 9 minutes an inch, and the water table was high. I mean, the water table, the level was high. If I had known you were coming, I would have brought my book, but I didn't do it because I kept a log of it the whole time with Stephen. Stephen did his log, but the perk rate was much better there. That whole area, we did two test holes, one closer to oh my God.
Spit it out, Joyce.
I'm trying to think of what his name, lives there across next to the on that same property side.
Brendan?
Brendan, God darn. Yeah, so I know that perk rate was better. The water level still was high, but it's not as high as the one in the field.
Yeah.
You know,
So I guess just knowing the history of the property, right? It's never been developed, and there's probably a reason why. I mean, they can't even get golf balls off the property. It's at times because they can't even walk on it to pick them up or drive the cart on there to get them. And with the pictures I submitted, with the groundwater being what it is, and the test holes that were dug being full, I just don't know how you can go. I understand that there was a perk rate for particular areas of the property, but how do you go from all of that context and background to being able to put up a store, 35 houses and a septic system to suit it all? I just don't understand. And that's what I'm trying to understand, is how it can be done without there being issues for the neighbors. Now, I know that there's also houses that are within 150 feet. Their well is within 150 feet of the proposed septic system. So the answer to that has been that they purchase the properties and that they plan to connect them to the system. I don't know that eliminates the need for the buffer. I don't know if those are some of the questions that I would have.
The rule is 100 feet.
Yeah.
So.
Or 100 feet, but it's within 100 feet because it's been stated in previous meetings by the applicant himself.
I just know that, you know, the thing that is the septic system that they're doing, do we have the plan somewhere? The septic system that they're doing is going to be very raised, sure. You know, it's going to be, and it should be pretty sophisticated. But
I know the other element that came up in the conversation was, Tom made reference to the need for a mounting analysis, right? I don't know if you know specific details.
I don't.
To
but
determine
the
how
DEP
far up it has to
It's a
be
D-
built.
It's a
Right.
DEP
Yeah.
thing that I think that they need to be dealing with at the same time, DEP.
Right.
Maybe we can ask Tom to watch the meeting and answer Mr. Krause's questions through an email, and we can
Yeah.
relay the
It's-
information to him.
For my own benefit as an abutter, right? If, is my well close enough? It's probably not 100 feet, maybe it's 150 or 170. Am I at risk of being contaminated as well as the other residents? Is there going to be drainage issues as a result of, removing the trees or putting in impervious structure and things like that? I don't know. But I know that the folks that are on that side of the road in particular are very high risk for complications.
Well, the thing that bothers me is that there are 36 houses in there. It's one of the things that bothers me, that instead of, Like-
32 total. It was up, actually, I think the original plans was 27.
yeah.
32 plus the condon home and the
but-
barn
uh,
count as another two, the 34, maybe?
I thought it was 37, but it's 37. Yeah, I
Yeah.
thought it was 37. And I think that's way too many houses for that piece of property. I mean, when they were doing 26, that was different. That it was, that's 10 less and, but I don't know where the planning board is in their thoughts about that, is saying, that's too many houses for that piece of property.
Yeah.
Well, I can say from the planning board's perspective, at the last meeting, they did move to put the project forward. So now, from this standpoint, as I understand it, it'll now move to the next steps, which will involve other groups in the town, Board of Health, potentially Concom. As we know, DEP is, involved
Right.
with the public water supply. So,
So there's still an opportunity for them to address your concerns to those other boards as well. It's not a done deal.
Including this one.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so, as we go through the process, these issues will come up and they'll be addressed.
Yeah, nothing would make me happier than to just not have any problems, right? But if my house starts flooding, if my house starts having contaminated water and the neighbors are going through the same thing, I mean, there's one chance to get it right,
Absolutely. It's a real issue.
That's all.
Just like with these folks here, these are their homes too. It's a real issue. But again, the process is still in the beginning stages, so
Yep.
there's a lot more conversation and a lot more boards are going to be weighing in on the process. So I would suggest, and I know that you have been attending the meetings, to continue to attend the meetings and continue to ask your questions.
He's on the board.
Oh,
He's on the planning board.
But I'm here as in a butter.
see here in the butter, yeah.
But no, I know that, but I'm just saying, I mean, you're paying strict attention because you're there all the time on that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I'm happy that you're there. That's why
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, good, you're there. You're doing that,
there's other boards now too with different sets of eyes now that are going to look at the project in a different manner.
Right.
And the Board of Health is going to look at it from the septic standpoint. You're going to have the Conservation Commission is going to look at it from the impact, if there's any wetlands in the area, wastewater in the runoff, as will we, and also concern ourselves with the proposed septic system in correlation with the abutting properties and their wells, and, in the impact of, if there is any drainage issues, what you say that already exist, what the impact's going to be on the existing homes.
Well, I don't know if you remember when I was there doing the first walk, we were there at the first walk, right? And I was very concerned about their wetlands line. I said, it needs to be moved way up. And, they did do that because it was, remember, it was down behind, I always call it Garrett's house, but down in there, and I'm like, wait a minute. This is the fern, blah, 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 same fern. This is the blueberry bush, same blueberry bush, you know? And I was going on, and they're like, who is this person? So, I mean, I think they wanted to shoot me, but they didn't.
No.
Anyway,
No.
they did change the wetland line, because I kept at it, you know, and I saw that they did change the wetland line.
Yes.
When we did that walk, but they did move that up, you know, this way. So,
So I think what might be very helpful is, to Colleen's suggestion, is kind of connect, see if we can connect Tom directly with you and maybe give you some specific details, you know, from his perspective as an engineer and, you know, and addressing, you know, with regard to the, you know, the perk testing, the results, what they mean, you know, what is that, how does that relate to the functionality of what is going to happen moving forward? And
I think you should, if you care to, send an email to Jack with all of your questions and what we discussed tonight, and you know, what your concerns are. And then we can send it to Tom Ryder and have him respond.
Sure.
So we'll get
I
you
can do
some
that.
answers to your questions
Thank you.
tonight. And Jack will forward it to Tom, and then we'll send it to you as soon as Tom responds.
Thank you.
I mean,
Absolutely.
we're in it. We're going to be in the thick of things. So
Yeah.
we're going to really look to make sure that anything in our domain, it all happens the way it needs to happen. There's no skippage of
Oh, that's what the
steps and
process is for. You have
Yeah.
to follow the process.
We understand the concern. So we understand the sensitivity of this project, what it means to the residents nearby. So we want to be showing our due diligence as well.
Mhm.
You know, just to make sure that the result is exactly what we wanted to do.
Thank you.
So, yeah. Joyce, anything?
yeah, no, I agree with all that everybody said, you know.
Communication.
Yeah, it's so important for us all to work together and to keep that. And again, I don't know how it works that they're keeping all those houses there. That's a planning board issue more than anything, in my opinion.
Yeah, the way I understand it is, you know, it's within the bylaw, right? So the only limiting factors for that would be, you know, the things that are being discussed by the Board of Health and the Conservation Commission.
Right. So if
They're
anything
within the bylaw.
that we saw or Concom might have seen that would have dramatically changed the scope that was presented to the planning board, which it didn't appear to be, then that would have, you know, gently raised the flag for the planning board to say, wait a minute, we have to relook at this, you know, we got to go back. But there didn't seem to be anything specific that was going to be of a major altercation, not altercation, but alteration to the plan. So we'll definitely be making sure
The
that
other thing too is the other abutters as well. You know, if they have their concerns, I mean, that's what this venue is for.
Mhm.
Is for them to attend the meetings and ask the questions and have, you know, their concerns and their questions answered.
Yeah.
You should speak with the rest of your neighbors. If they have similar concerns, they should also present them.
Yeah, question. How long does this stay on the agenda for the Board of Health? Is it through the project or?
not necessarily consistently, but because this is an ongoing project. So as it kind of moves forward, I think the best that we would want to be doing is staying in touch with Tom throughout the process and be on top of the steps ourselves as a board.
Yeah.
Where we then needed to bring it before the public. And it's certainly something we could consider maybe even on a regular basis, just so the public is being updated from the board perspective. And there'd be occasions too, we'd probably have Tom on and some of these meetings as well.
To
You know.
discuss it. And unfortunately, we have Joyce. And we also have, in addition to Tom, we have Steve Donatelli too. There's another set of eyes and they're trained professionals in this area.
So,
And I'm in a butters. They don't
Full
consider me a
disclosure.
butter, but in my mind, I am a butter.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yes, send the email so that we can get it to Tom and get your questions answered.
I will.
Yep. Okay. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Good to see you. All right. And nobody is still on. Good night.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Let's see, on to the next item on the agenda. We have subscriber trash recycling enterprise fund discussion. We don't have Alan here.
Mm.
Maybe we want to kind of hold that discussion.
I think so.
We all can kind of get involved. What do you think, Joyce? Okay. Table that for the next meeting. So now we get to move on to item 7, Board of Health admin updates.
All right, so on the issue of the illegal dumping with respect to Eversource parcel on Providence Street, I met with Peter Bowen, who is a representative from Eversource this past Monday.
Good.
And he assured me that Eversource is currently working on getting gates and barriers for that area, which should hopefully be completed by June 1st. The work will take a couple of weeks, weather permitting. The original gates, which are broken, were properly set along the Providence Street and will need to be reset 40 to 50 feet back so that the trucks from the road can go inside and open up the gates. He said additional barriers will be added to secure the gate offsets. And he said the cleanup should take another couple of weeks depending on how good the weather is.
And did he think that there should be a camera there?
I mentioned the cameras and the signage, but he didn't say yay or nay on those,
Oh, okay.
but I did mention it to him.
I think the gate itself is going to
Right.
probably take care of a lot of
Yeah.
the
Well, because
issues.
the gate was like a
Broken.
piece of junk.
Yeah,
You got straight access going all the way down to the back.
Yeah.
pretty much. The Blackstone Valley Partnership for Public Health IMA has been signed, sealed, and delivered as of this past Thursday. So Mendon will continue to benefit from these services for another 3 years.
Good.
I confirmed with John Dudley about the storm drain repair at the old Mendon landfill. It is on his growing list of projects, and he said depending on how things progress, he may be able to get to it sooner rather than later. But again, wanted to let the board know that if needed, he could get some quotes from repairs outside contractors. That's all I got.
Okay.
Awesome. Next, we have health agent updates. That'd be Colleen's domain.
I just wanted to acknowledge too, with regards to Providence Road, I want to acknowledge Rep. Mike Soda. He also assisted us with getting us in contact with Eversource. And then he reached out and advised Mr. Murray. But he also assisted us with getting a resolution to that issue.
And on that same vein, to acknowledge Brian's office, Brian Murray, and his staff for helping expedite to
Yep.
get that communication
That's what it is,
connection,
communication.
closing that circle.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yep, that's
Awesome.
what it is. 49th Ave, so I spoke with the former owner, Mr. Audi. I also spoke with the attorney Harrison, and I spoke with the new owner. And in the course of my conversation with Mr. Audi and the new owner, it was my understanding that they were going to withhold funds for the repair of the on-site septic system. I reached out to Attorney Harrison and reiterated my conversation. Attorney Harrison got back to me and told me that that was not the case. So I sent a letter to the new owner and advised him and also requested his presence at the next board meeting.
And what's his name?
Thomas Detto.
So he's not the son of,
No, he was just no, not the son. No, not at all.
because I thought that was who was going to be buying.
No, it was not a son. I believe at some point maybe that we thought that it was a grandson, but there still would not be an exclusion under Title V because it's not for grandchildren. So I sent a letter to him, let him know of my conversation with Attorney Harrison And, you know, that it's my understanding that well, Attorney Harrison told me that he is absolutely not holding funds and to contact the new owner directly, which we did.
What's the spelling of that gentleman's last name? Levi?
Detto, right? Detto. So asked him to be at the next meeting, as I did with 10 Northridge Street. We had him coming tonight, but because before we knew that the chair wasn't going to be present, you guys had the scholarships. We just thought that it was, there was a lot on the agenda. So he'll be at our next meeting as well. Jack and I went down to Hartford Ave and took pictures of that property that the board was concerned with.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. They have that.
yeah.
Okay.
So tomorrow I'll be sending the pictures of the collapsed roof and whatnot to the building commissioner, and there is debris in the yard. I got some pictures from the driveway. There was no trespassing sign there. I do plan on getting a contact phone number for the person that's living there and contacting them, just so that they don't get a cold letter. I like contacting them
Right.
first before they get a letter and having a conversation with them, and maybe even if they agree, going down and meeting them.
Now, when you say debris, what would be examples of the debris you see?
Washers, dryers, rugs, metal, and other refuse. Mhm.
No sign of any kind of drums or containers down around the back that would be.
Well, I stayed up top because there was a no trespassing sign there, so
Yeah.
I could only get,
Didn't know if you could visually kind of, sometimes you can kind of see.
there was some metal that was there, and that's why I want to contact the owner too before I send the letter,
Yeah,
and maybe, have a conversation prior to, just so that I'm not sure who's living there. Yeah, I'm not sure who's
yeah,
living
when
there.
the last, he did, he passed, and when the board last dealt with this property, probably 3-4 years ago, it had come to the board's attention about a lot of debris, various components that were kind of sitting around. A lot of it was auto related. And the major concern.
Was it Bud's Auto?
Yeah, Bud's Auto, yeah. Back in the day,
Back in the
he
day.
was like the tow service for the town. But what caught our eye was there were a lot of containers, drums and things of that nature. So we had concerns, given you have conservation down behind the land. So actually the board made a visit to the site along with Tom Ryder, and they were very accommodating, and they understood the concerns, and they jumped into action. Actually, the woman who owned the home had a nephew that was kind of helping her out. So he kind of was able to get in there and cleaned it up, probably in a matter of a couple of months. There was a lot of things to do. I was very impressed with the speed of the work. So we just want to make sure it doesn't kind of fall back. Yeah. Thank you.
Because it shouldn't be a business, not a business anymore, so.
No, there's no activity there of
No,
that kind
that's right.
whatsoever.
Yeah.
Nothing. The whole garage, the roof, everything is all collapsed. So we took pictures today. We're going to send them to John Erickson.
Yep.
And he can, whatever he feels should be the next step for him.
Yep.
And we are very busy with
Well, you're very busy.
food trucks.
With what?
Food trucks.
Food trucks.
Tis the season. Van de Valk Farm, great. I mean, every Friday, on Fridays and Sundays, up there inspecting the food trucks.
My granddaughter works for them,
You told me that.
Yeah.
I'll have to ask Lisa,
Emily Steele.
okay. I'll have to ask Lisa because I see that Lisa and I are like, best buddies now, because I'm up there so often. She's like, you again, just kidding around. And 43 Blackstone Street, Jack was contacted by a Title V inspector. They asked for the plans, septic plans for that property and the property on Taft Ave. So we are anticipating, Jack did some follow-up with the person that requested it, and they're just waiting for the Title V report. So we should have
Alan did
those.
say yesterday when I spoke to Alan that he did see them on the property doing the Title V inspection
Yep.
on Blackstone Street.
Yep.
So Alan saw them yesterday.
So that, so we're moving forward with that. And, that's all I have for right now.
That's
Awesome.
plenty.
Oh,
Very
yeah,
good.
we're moving and shaking.
And now what's happening with this place on the corner?
The tobacco.
Yeah,
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Thanks, Jack. I went in there on Sunday, made sure that everything was off the shelves, and it was.
it wasn't?
It was.
Oh, it was.
Absolutely.
Oh, so
Yep,
that-
everything,
so,
everything.
we can
Yep.
step back and. say
Yep.
That they're doing what they're
Absolutely.
supposed
Yeah,
to.
everything
Okay.
was completely removed. Thanks for reminding me. I
Well, just
forgot.
reminded me.
Yeah, no, yeah, see, communication. Right, so yeah, I went in there on Sunday and it's
Okay.
completely clean. Yep.
Hopefully, you know, it works out. in the
Well,
end,
maybe,
it'll
how
be
many times do you have to get that same message?
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Great. All right, next up, we have topics not anticipated within 48 hours. Anyone have any,
Well, I have one thing. I didn't know if to put it underneath old business or not anticipated 48 hours. I spoke with Karis yesterday in regards to the tobacco permit, in regards to 147 Hartford Avenue East. It was the convenience store that wanted a tobacco permit. They started building in 2023, applied for a permit in
Oh, the timing.
2024, the timing of the
timing
permit, stuff like
issue,
that. Yeah.
conversation we had? Okay.
So, at the last meeting, the board asked me to reach out to town council for their opinions on this matter. I spoke to Karis yesterday. She said with the current tobacco regulations would apply regardless of when the plans were approved for the convenience store. It's a matter of when they first applied for the permit. If they applied and were approved by the board before the new regs went into place, then it would just be no issue. It'd just be a matter of renewing the permit. She did state that the board can change their mind, but would need to update the current tobacco regulations and include a modify and waiver provision section. If the board will like to go this route, Karis would draft up the wording for such a provision and then for the board's review and approval.
Well, probably something that we'd want to have discussion with all
Full board.
board presidents. So
Right.
if you
That-
want to make a note,
That's a good step.
yeah, we can put that on as a topic for the next meeting. If we're not too overly inundated the next meeting. Yeah, okay,
That's all I have.
awesome. Bruce, did you have anything?
No?
No, good. Next, we had good and welfare for the board. You got anything, Joyce?
No, I'm good. I don't need.
Colleen? Jack?
So my piece.
Again, we're doing that recycling, energy recycling drive again
Yep.
this year for the dehumidifiers, the mattresses, furniture, like we did with the green team junk removal we did last year at Misco School.
Oh, yeah.
So that's coming again this year. Again, we're gonna be held at the Misco School. It's gonna be Mendon, Blackstone, Upton, and Hopedale.
Awesome.
Good.
And it's gonna be Saturday, June 22nd,
Okay,
from 10 to 2.
Yeah.
Those are the generic details. More information is to come, but just want to put it out there that
Yeah.
next month, June 22nd, we'll be hosting it again.
awesome. That's something that we would want to put on the public safety sign when the time draws near.
Yeah, we can. Absolutely.
Well, they get a mailer in the mail. 'Cause
Yep.
everything- They get free mailers, free emails out to the Mendon, Blackstone, Hopedale, Upton residents.
Oh, yeah, all the residents.
Yeah, was it, last year's event was, unfortunately I couldn't make it. Was it very well attended?
You very well for the first time around, yeah.
Yep.
And last year only involved Mendon Upton,
Mendon, just the 3 without Blackstone.
Hopedale, so
Hopedale,
Blackstone's
yeah.
Yep.
additional. Yeah,
Yep.
awesome. Great. Okay, stay
All I
tuned,
had.
stay tuned,
Stay tuned,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
stay
we have
tuned.
lots going on.
stay tuned. Yeah.
Good job, guys.
I don't have anything else.
Okay.
No? All right, so,
I think
at
we'll
this
watch the
point,
hockey game.
I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Okay.
You making the motion, Joyce? I'll step down in second. All right, thank you all for attending the meeting tonight.
Set next meeting,
Oh, set next meeting. What would be the next date? What would be
June
the-
12th.
June 12th.
The anniversary.
Oh, happy anniversary. Well, I'll tell you.
Is that going to be a
too.
problem? No? Are you sure? We can,
I like it. No.
we can, we can change it.
Pretty sure.
Do we need to ask the significant other? or-
I know. He probably
All right.
can't Remember.
Okay, so next meeting is June 12th,
7:30
7:30, probably here
upstairs, yes.
upstairs.
Yep.
Okay, great. Well, thank you all.
Thank you.
Have a lovely evening. Thank you all. Good night.
Good job. Now I'm gonna go watch the hockey game.